Welcome everyone. This is sixth grade visual art class with Miss Brandy. Welcome. And if you were not in class today, this is a way to catch up with your assignment and get ahead for next week. Okay, so we're going to go through the slideshow. Today we're going to talk about value. Okay. All right. So today you will need a pencil and a sketchbook. All right. And also an eraser if you have it. Okay, just some quick housekeeping rules when you join our class. You have your camera on, your microphone is off unless you have a question, then you raise your hand, and make sure that your studio space is set up and you have your art supplies and sketchbook handy for class. Okay, so today we're going to talk about value. Value is how an object is light or dark, and how you can turn something that's two-dimensional, like these circles right here, and make them three-dimensional just by adding shading, texture, and adding light and dark to your object. Okay. Here's an example of that same circle, and if you add in different shades and values and textures, you are creating the illusion that it actually has a light source and therefore making it look round. Okay, and you can see the shadow on there. So we're going to talk about all that. On the bottom, you can see the different squares, and that's called a value scale, and we're going to be making one of those today. Okay. The first thing we're going to do in classes, we're going to talk about pencil shading. If you have light pressure or hard pressure on your pencil, you can actually get different value with your graphite in your pencil. Okay. The next thing we're going to do today is make a value scale. We're going to draw just a simple graph and add in our value scale. The next thing we're going to do today is do different shading techniques. And we're going to go to that in just a second. We're going to draw 6 two-dimensional circles and start turning them into three-dimensional spheres. Okay. All right. So I'm going to actually stop sharing my slideshow for a second, and I am going to highlight my sketchbook right now. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is grab a pencil and make sure that your pencil isn't super sharp, okay? Mine's kind of dull right there. And this makes it really nice when we turn our pencil on our side to give us some shading abilities, okay? If your pencil is really sharp, or if you have a mechanical pencil, you wanna try to dull it down just by, scratching on your paper a little bit. Okay. If you do have a mechanical pencil, this exercise is going to be a little tricky, but try as best you can. Okay. What I'm going to do right now is just kind of scratch the surface of my sketchbook, pressing really firmly, not to break my pencil, but have enough pressure on there that I do have some good amount of graphite. Okay. This is graphite. And then as I lift up the pressure, you can actually start to see that the value changes. So you're going from dark to light, but I'm also not doing this. See, if I'm just have space in between my lines, you're not really showing me value and control of your pencil. Here, I want to make sure that I have enough lines that are close together so that I show that I have control. And it takes some practice. Even I'm like, oh, there's some dark. Now I need to release the pressure and go to light. I want to try to get an almost white color at the very, very end, which is very light pressure. Okay. And you want to try it a couple different times. Okay. So you can actually pause the video right now and try it a couple times to see if you can really understand the difference in pressure on your pencil. Okay. All right. Our next step is to create a value scale. A value scale is quite simple to create, but it does take a little bit of time. I'm going to just draw 2 lines, parallel lines, and then connect them like this. Okay. Then I'm going to divide up my rectangle into smaller rectangles. And this is called a value scale. Okay. And it's your choice if you want to go from dark to light or dark to light this way. You choose. I'm actually going to go from light on this end to dark. In this rectangle right here, I'm going to put a lot of pressure down on my pencil to really create a dark rectangle. You want to fill it in as much as you can. Again, without breaking your pencil, put a lot of pressure on to build up those layers of graphite. This rectangle is going to take the most time out of all of the rectangles. Okay, just take your time, really fill it in. And again, you want this to be the darkest. Okay, here we go, almost done. Add another layer on there. Okay, now I want to go and make this next rectangle a little bit lighter. Not too, I don't want a huge difference between the two rectangles, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to actually kind of release the pressure a little bit and put my finger down here, turn my pencil on its side, and create pressure going across. Not too much pressure because I want it to be lighter than the previous rectangle. Okay. But I definitely want to see a difference between the two. Okay, now I'm going to go to this next one, and I need to make it lighter than the previous rectangle. So I'm going to release that pressure and go across. Now, if you notice that there isn't enough difference between the two, I can actually go back, and just like a layer of cake, I can add another layer of frosting, basically graphite frosting. Okay, so add another layer to make sure I can really see the difference between the two. Okay, and I'm going to go to my third and release the pressure one more time. Really, really light. And I can almost see the difference, but I think I want to go back and add another layer of graphite right here. Okay, I really want to see the difference as I go down the line. Okay, and this final one, we're just going to have the lightest pressure possible. Keep those lines close together. We really want to show that we know how to control our pencil. Okay, and I can almost see the difference, but not quite. So I'm going to go back to this one and add another layer. And I might have to go back to this one and add another layer so that you really do see the difference going from dark to light on your value scale. All right. Next step, we are going to draw 6 circles across our sketchbook like this. And each one of these circles, we're going to start making them more into spheres, and we're going to add different shading techniques. You can add the word shading up here, or shade, all right, just so that you remember. And this first one, I'm going to write the word hatching, okay? And we kind of did hatching on this one right here. It's just going back and forth, okay? So this is hatching. The next one is cross hatching, okay? The next one over here is going to be stippling. Over here, we're going to put scribbling. And it is just like it sounds, it's scribbling. This one is circling. We're going to use a circle and continue on this way. And this last one is going to be finger blending. It's one of my favorites. Okay. All right. So before we start filling these in, we want to think about a light source. If I were to draw a flashlight right here and turn on the flashlight, you would get a cast of light across this. And what it would do is actually cast a shadow. And so this right here would be the lightest part of my circle or of my sphere, because the light is right here. On this side, it would be darker. You'd have more shadow, okay? So I'm going to go, and with my hatching, I'm just going to go back and forth, starting with dark and lightening up on the pressure in one direction, go all the way across, trying to get almost white as I get to this very, very end, okay? You want to go back, really fill it in, like that. Okay, so that is hatching. Cross hatching is you're basically going in one direction and then switching directions. So you start with your dark, or you can start with your light. You choose. And I'm going to loosen up, release the pressure down at the bottom. And then I'm going to go the other direction, like this. And if you're using a pen, this is a really nice technique when you're doing like graphic novels, things like that. Really does show some nice value. Okay. All right, so that is cross hatching. And you can keep practicing and really kind of blend it in so that it looks more natural and three-dimensional. Okay, stippling. Stippling takes some time, and it's basically a ton of dots that you concentrate in the area where you want the shadow to be. And you can use lots of, you can use pressure to make darker dots or lighten up the pressure. And you concentrate your dots and then you spread them out as you move down the circle. Okay, and it starts to look like an orange, but the more you work on it, the more it really starts to look three-dimensional. Okay, and I will go back and finish this one later, but you can pause the video and continue to stipple. I say this one will probably take about 5 minutes in and of itself to finish, okay? And I'll show you the sample a little bit later on. Scribbling. Scribbling is really fun because you can just take any kind of scribbling that you like and just repeat it. So instead of just, I'm not gonna go back and forth doing like zigzag or cross hatching, I wanna just choose one type of scribble and concentrate those scribbles in one area, like this, and I can add pressure to create that kind of depth and value that I'm looking for, and then loosen up the pressure as you go across the circle. Okay. Just keep going until you really have filled it in. Okay, definitely take some time to finish this one up. All right, the next one is circling. It's very similar to scribbling. You're literally taking circles, circular motions, and make sure that the circles are very similar in size. And you just keep going and repeating over and over and over, concentrating that value at the bottom where the shadow is, and work your way up, releasing the pressure as you go across the circle. Okay. All right. The last one we're going to do is finger blending, which is really fun because you get a little bit dirty with your finger. What I'm going to do is same thing. I want to concentrate the shadow in one area. And so I might do this one a little differently. So I'm going to choose to concentrate maybe my shadow on this side and have my light source. I'm going to draw my little flashlight, have my light source be right here. So this is going to be the lightest part right here. And so my shadow is going to be all along this side right here. And now I'm going to kind of switch and turn my pencil so I can get more graphite on a little bit faster. I'm going to stretch that across almost like I'm hatching, but I am going to keep some space in there so that I can use my finger to blend the rest. Okay, you want to make sure your finger is nice and dry. And push that graphite around. You can use a circling motion or a scratching motion. It's really up to you. Really experiment and try different techniques with this. If you want to, you can go back and add more graphite and try to have a smoother transition from dark to light. And really spend a lot of time on this. All right, you really want to kind of understand how to get value represented in a three-dimensional illusion like this, okay? If you have an eraser, it's kind of nice to add in and take away some different light sources. So if you're trying to make like a marble, you can add in a space like this and it looks like there's a reflection of light. Or you can also start taking away some of the shading that you just did and then go back and have a smoother transition with your blending. All right. Just practice, practice, practice. Okay. For homework, you are going to be attempting to do some observational drawing, and I'm going to show you right now a really nice way of making something look realistic is adding in a shadow. And so here's my light source, and here's my my light coming down like this. My shadow is going to actually connect all the way across like this, and it's going to be a little bit lighter on this side, like this, and definitely darker on this side over here. And where the two connect, where the shadow and the object connect, you can actually add in more of that intense value shading. All right, and it just takes a little bit of practice. And go in there and blend it. And there's lots of YouTube videos out there that actually show you how to create that kind of depth and illusion that we're looking for when it comes to making something look realistic. All right, I'm gonna share the slideshow again just so that you can kind of review what we did. All right, so these are the circles that we made with hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, scribbling, circling, and finger blending. All right, so definitely practice those. And you can see how they have across the circle, they've created some areas of highlighting. So it really does create that illusion of it being a three-dimensional circle or sphere. Okay. All right, so for homework, you're going to be doing an observational drawing. Just choose one object, and what you're going to be working on is adding value. Okay. The first step is drawing contour lines, really kind of outlining the object, finding out what the spaces look like, and kind of sketching it in. And then you can add gesture drawing to fill in the space. Okay. And when you fill in the space, you get to choose if you would like to do blending, finger blending, like this one looks more like blending or hatching. You can also choose one of the shading techniques that we just practiced, like stippling, finger blending, circling, scribbling, etc. Right? So practice, experiment, have some fun, and bring your homework with you next week. And we will do some more observational drawing, live observational drawing inside of class. All right, have a really good day, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.